Daniel had always believed that reality was solid, stable, and unmoving. Every morning followed the same pattern, the same alarm sound, the same grey light through the curtains, the same quiet apartment in the city. Life felt predictable, almost mechanical, safe. But on this morning, something felt off. He opened his eyes before the alarm rang. The room looked normal. The walls were still white. The air was still cool. Yet there was a strange feeling in his chest, like he had stepped into the wrong version of the day. He brushed it away. In the kitchen, he made coffee. The smell was familiar. The mug was warm in his hands. Everything looked exactly as it should. And yet, inside him, there was a quiet whisper. Something has changed. Daniel tried to remember. His dream from the night before. It slipped away like fog. All he could recall was a single image, himself, standing in front of two doors. One door was dark. The other glowed with soft light. He had chosen one, but which one? He shook his head and opened his laptop. That was when he saw it. An email. The subject line froze him in place. "Congratulations, you've been selected." His heart began to beat faster. No, that was not possible. Yesterday, he had received a different email. He remembered it clearly. This same sender, this same subject line. But the message had said something else. "We regret to inform you." He remembered the heavy feeling in his stomach. He remembered closing the laptop slowly. He remembered telling himself not to hope too much next time. The rejection had felt real, solid, final. But now it was gone. Daniel searched his inbox. He checked the trash folder. He checked his phone. The rejection. Email did not exist. Only the acceptance. His hands started to shake. Had he imagined the rejection? That seemed impossible. He could replay the memory in detail. The words, the tone, the exact time he read it. It had been real. So what was this? He leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. The room suddenly felt unfamiliar, like a stage set that only looked real. For weeks, Daniel had been trying something new, a meditation practice he found online. It was called the 3 brains method. He claimed that the human body holds 3 centers of intelligence: the head, the heart, and the gut. And when these 3 were aligned, something unusual could happen. The method said that reality is not fixed. It said that before events become solid, they exist as possibilities. And it suggested something even stranger, that by changing your internal state, you could shift which possibility becomes real. At the time, Daniel had laughed at the idea. It sounded poetic, not practical. Still, he practiced every night. He would slow his breathing. He would focus on his heart and feel gratitude as if his goal had already happened. He would imagine the version of himself who had succeeded. He would try to feel like that person now, not wishing, becoming. He had done this meditation last night, and now this email sat in front of him like proof of something he could not explain. Coincidence? Mistake? Or something else? His phone buzzed. It was a message from his friend. "Hey, congrats on the job. I knew you'd get it." Daniel felt cold. His friend had comforted him yesterday about the rejection. He clearly remembered that conversation. He quickly opened their chat history. There was no message about rejection, only excitement, only celebration. It was as if yesterday had rewritten itself. Daniel stood up slowly. The apartment felt too quiet, too still. He walked to the window and looked at the city below. Cars moved. People crossed the street. The world looked normal, but it did not feel normal. A single thought entered his mind, quiet but powerful. What if reality is not as solid as it seems? What if it responds? And what if, without knowing it, he had stepped into a different version of his own life? Daniel looked back at the glowing screen. If this was just coincidence, it was the strangest one he had ever experienced. But if it was not, then the world was far bigger and far more flexible than he had ever imagined. And this was only the beginning. Daniel did not sleep well that night. The acceptance email still glowed in his memory, brighter than the screen itself. He kept replaying the past 2 days in his mind, trying to find the mistake. But the more he searched, the clearer one thing became. The rejection had felt real. The disappointment had been real. And yet now, it was gone. The next morning, instead of celebrating, Daniel opened his notebook. On the first page he had written weeks ago, 3 brains, meditation aligned to upgrade. At the time, it had sounded dramatic, almost silly, but now it felt important. The method described 3 centers of intelligence inside the body: The first was the head brain, the one everyone knows. The thinking mind, the voice that plans, worries, calculates, and remembers. Daniel knew this brain very well. It was loud, it loved control, it did not like mystery. The second was the heart brain, not just emotion, but rhythm, connection, coherence, the part of him that felt gratitude, love, and meaning. The third was the gut brain, the deep instinct, the quiet identity center, the place that whispers, "This is who I am." The method claimed something bold. Most people live only in the head, thinking about life, analyzing life, fearing life. But when the head, heart, and gut send different signals, the body lives in conflict. And when they send the same signal, something changes. Daniel closed his eyes and tried to observe himself. His head was racing. This is impossible. There must be a logical explanation. His heart felt tight, unsure whether to feel joy or fear. His gut felt unstable, like the ground beneath him was soft. 3 signals, 3 different directions, no alignment. He remembered what the meditation had taught him. First, slow the breath, signal, safety to the body. Second, shift attention to the heart, create a feeling of gratitude before the evidence appears. Third, ask the gut a simple question. Who am I becoming? Not, what do I want? But, who am I? That difference had always confused him, but now it felt important. Daniel realized something uncomfortable. Before the strange email shift, he had not just been wishing for the job, he had been practicing feeling like the version of himself who already had it. He had imagined waking up confident. He had imagined walking into a new office, calm and capable. He had tried to feel that identity in his body, not desperate, not hoping, but certain. What if the meditation was not about changing the outside world directly? What if it was about changing the internal signal he was sending? And what if reality somehow responded to that signal? The idea felt dangerous, because if it was true, then he was not just a victim of circumstances. He was participating in them. Daniel opened his eyes slowly. Maybe the email was not a glitch in the system. Maybe it was a reflection of a shift inside him. But that led to an even bigger question. If 3 centers inside his body could influence his choices, and his choices shaped his path, then how many paths were possible? And how many versions of Daniel already existed, waiting for alignment for the first time? He did not feel fear. He felt curiosity. If there were truly 3 minds inside him, then maybe upgrading his life was not about doing more. It was about synchronizing what was already there. And if alignment could change small events, what else could it change? The thought lingered in the quiet room. Maybe the real mystery was not the email. Maybe the real mystery was the signal he had been sending all along. Daniel could no longer ignore what had happened. The email was real. The message from his friend was real. The memory of rejection was also real. 2 versions of the same event seemed to exist inside him, one in memory, one in front of his eyes. Instead of dismissing it, Daniel decided to understand it. He began reading late into the night, not fantasy, not spiritual blogs, but science. He came across a strange idea in quantum physics. Before something becomes solid and measurable, it exists as probability, not one fixed outcome, but many possible outcomes. A particle can behave like a wave of possibilities until it is observed. Daniel paused on that word, observed. Some experiments suggested that the act of measurement changes what is seen. He did not pretend to fully understand the equations, but the idea itself was simple and powerful. Before a choice becomes real, it is potential. Before a path becomes solid, it is possibility. He leaned back in his chair, thinking about his own life. Before the company made their final decision, there were multiple outcomes: accepted, rejected, delayed, ignored, until one became real. But what if the story did not end there? What if reality was not a straight line, but a field of options, constantly updating? Daniel began connecting something even more personal. Every day, he makes choices. Some are small, some are life-changing. Each choice removes certain possibilities and strengthens others. But what guides those choices? His thoughts, his emotions, his sense of identity. If his head says, "I am not good enough," he acts smaller, he hesitates, he avoids risk. If his heart feels fear, his body tightens, his voice weakens. If his gut believes, "This is not for me," he unconsciously steps away from opportunity. Slowly, a pattern forms. Internal signals shape external behavior. External behavior shapes outcomes. Maybe this was not magic. Maybe it was alignment influencing perception, perception influencing action, action influencing reality. But then another thought entered his mind. What if perception does more than filter reality? What if it selects it? He remembered the meditation when he aligned his head, heart, and gut. He did not just think about success. He felt like the version of himself who already lived it. He walked differently, spoke differently, sent emails with more clarity, carried less doubt. What if that shift changed the way others responded to him? What if confidence changed tone, tone changed decisions, decisions changed outcomes? And what if all of that looked like coincidence from the outside, but was actually the natural result of internal coherence? Daniel realized something important. The world might not be bending around him, but his internal state might be guiding him toward different branches of possibility. Like tuning a radio, the station already exists, but you must match the frequency to hear it. Maybe reality works the same way. Many potentials exist, but the signal you send determines what you experience. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying, because if this was true, then he was not trapped in one fixed path. He was constantly choosing, not only with actions, but with identity. Daniel looked at his reflection in the dark laptop screen. If reality is shaped by alignment, then who he believes he is may matter more than any external event. And if that is true, how many other timelines are quietly waiting, just beyond the limits of his current self? Daniel decided that thinking was no longer enough. If alignment had anything to do with what happened, he needed to test it again, not casually, not half curious, but fully committed. That night, he turned off his phone, closed his laptop, and sat alone in the quiet room. The city outside was loud, cars moving, voices echoing, life continuing as usual. But inside the room, there was stillness. He sat down, closed his eyes, and began with the first step. Slow breathing. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly. At first, his head brain resisted. This is silly. You just got lucky. Stop trying to make it mystical. The voice was sharp and logical, but Daniel did not fight it. He simply kept breathing. After a few minutes, something softened. His shoulders relaxed, his jaw loosened. The noise in his mind became quieter. Then he moved to the second step. Focus on the heart. Not the physical beating alone, but the feeling inside the chest. He remembered what the method said. Generate gratitude before the evidence appears. That had always felt strange to him. How can you feel thankful for something that has not happened? But tonight, he tried anyway. He imagined waking up 1 year from now, stronger, calmer, living the life he once hoped for. He did not focus on objects or status. He focused on how that version of him would feel. Stable, confident, at peace. Slowly, a warm sensation spread through his chest. Not excitement, not desperation, but quiet certainty. Then came the third step, the gut. He placed his attention lower in his body, the place of instinct, the place that reacts before thought. He asked a simple question inside himself. Who am I becoming? Not, what do I want to get? But, who am I choosing to be? For a moment, there was silence. Then a clear answer formed. I am someone who trusts the process. I am someone who acts with clarity. I am someone who expects growth. The words did not feel forced. They felt steady. Now came the final part. Alignment, head, heart, and gut sending the same message. The head no longer arguing, the heart feeling gratitude, the gut holding identity. All three focused on the same version of Daniel. In that moment, something shifted, not outside, but inside. He felt organized, centered, coherent. Like three musicians who had finally tuned their instruments to the same key. There was no dramatic light, no sudden miracle, only a deep sense of internal order. The next day, small changes appeared. He spoke differently during meetings. He listened more carefully. He responded instead of reacting. People seemed to notice. Conversations flowed more easily. Opportunities felt closer. Nothing magical, nothing impossible. Yet something was clearly different. Daniel began to understand. The meditation was not about forcing reality to change. It was about changing the signal he was sending into every interaction. And when the signal changes, the responses change. If the world is like a mirror, then alignment might be the act of adjusting the image before it reflects back. For the first time, Daniel did not feel like he was chasing a better future. He felt like he was tuning into it, and somewhere deep inside, a new question formed. If this is what alignment can do in small moments, What could happen if he mastered it completely? For a few days, everything felt smooth. Daniel stayed aligned, breathing slowly in the mornings, centering his heart before important calls, asking his gut who he was choosing to be. He felt steady, not overly excited, not anxious, just clear. Then the test came. It arrived without warning, a sudden message from the company. There has been a delay in the onboarding process. We will update you soon. Short, formal, cold, his chest tightened. The old fear rushed back like a wave. What if they changed their mind? What if the first rejection was real? What if this acceptance disappears too? His head brain grew loud again. Fast thoughts, worst-case scenarios. His heart lost its warmth. Gratitude faded into worry. His gut felt heavy, uncertain. The alignment was breaking. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wall. This was the moment that mattered. It was easy to feel powerful when things went well. It was easy to talk about reality shifting when life seemed cooperative. But now, the pressure was real. Money was limited, time was passing, expectations were rising. His body wanted to panic. He noticed something important, the external event. He had not changed much, only a delay, but his internal reaction was creating a storm. He closed his eyes, not to escape, but to observe. Head screaming, heart tightening, gut shrinking. 3 different signals again. He remembered what he had learned. Alignment first, reaction later. Slow breath in, slow breath out. At first, it felt fake. His mind resisted. You are ignoring reality. This is serious. But Daniel understood something new. He was not ignoring reality. He was choosing how to meet it. He placed his attention on his heart. Instead of gratitude for the job, he searched for something simpler. Gratitude for the opportunity to grow. Gratitude for the lesson in patience. The warmth returned slowly. Then he asked his gut again. Who am I becoming in this moment? The answer came more clearly than before. I am someone who remains steady under pressure. I am someone who trusts long-term outcomes. I am someone who does not collapse at uncertainty. The words felt stronger this time, not imagined, earned. His head began to quiet, not fully silent, but no longer in control. Within minutes, the storm inside him weakened. The situation outside had not changed, but he had. Later that week, something unexpected happened. A former colleague reached out randomly. They had heard about his new direction and offered freelance work for the next few months. Enough to remove financial pressure, enough to create space. Daniel stared at the message, feeling a strange calm. If he had panicked earlier, if he'd reacted with fear, if he'd sent desperate emails, would he have noticed this opportunity? Would he have responded with clarity instead of stress? He did not know, but he understood something deeply. Alignment does not remove challenges. It changes how you move through them, and the way you move through them changes what you see. Maybe the timeline did not magically shift around him. Maybe his state determined which doors he could recognize. Daniel stood by the window again, watching the city below. Life still looked normal, but now he saw something different. Every moment carried branching paths, and every internal reaction gently pushed him toward one of them. The breaking point had not broken him. It had shown him his power, and for the first time, he felt ready for something bigger, not just to experience shifts, but to understand them. Weeks passed. The job was confirmed. The freelance work continued. Life moved forward. From the outside, Daniel's story looked normal. A new opportunity, a short delay, a lucky connection, nothing supernatural, but inside him, something fundamental had changed. He no longer saw reality as a fixed wall in front of him. He saw it as a field of doors. Some doors were obvious, some were hidden, some only appeared when he was calm enough to notice them. Daniel began to understand a simple but powerful truth. The 3 brains meditation was not about controlling the universe. It was about organizing himself. When his head, heart, and gut were divided, he felt scattered. He reacted quickly. He assumed the worst. He missed subtle chances, but when they were aligned, something different happened. His thoughts were clear. His emotions were stable. His instincts were confident. In that state, he made better choices. He sent the email instead of hesitating. He spoke with strength instead of doubt. He waited with patience instead of fear. Small actions, yet each action gently shifted his path. He realized something surprising. He had not jumped into a magical new universe. He had become a different version of himself inside this one, and that version naturally walked toward different outcomes. Maybe timelines are not distant worlds in space. Maybe they're patterns of behavior, patterns of belief, patterns of identity. Change the pattern, and the path changes with it. Daniel stood once more at his window, the city alive beneath him. For a moment, he imagined thousands of invisible lines stretching out from where he stood, each line representing a possible future, some shaped by fear, some shaped by confidence, some shaped by alignment. He understood now that he was always choosing, not only with big decisions, but with small internal shifts, with every breath, with every emotional response, with every belief about who he was. The real upgrade was not outside, it was within. It was within. The head could think clearly, the heart could feel deeply, the gut could stand firmly, and when all three agreed, he felt whole. Maybe reality responds to coherence. Maybe life mirrors identity. Or maybe alignment simply allows a person to see what was always there. Daniel smiled softly. The mystery of the changing email no longer frightened him. It had become a doorway, a reminder that the world is more flexible than it appears, and that the greatest shift does not happen in the stars, it happens in the self. If reality reflects who you are being, then the question is no longer whether timelines exist. The question is, who are you becoming right now?